Hi, I'm Drew, and I'm going to show you how to use Claude Code with NoteCove. Well, first, in order to use NoteCove, we actually have to start NoteCove itself, um, and we have to create a profile. And we're going to start to create the profile. We're going to call it demo because that's what this is. You have a couple different choices from your profile mode. Local means we're going to just store everything locally in local file systems. Cloud means like it's going to pop up selections for Google Drive, Dropbox, iCloud, whatever storage, whatever cloud storage you happen to have. It doesn't actually care all that much. Um, and then there's paranoid, which basically says like we've set it up so that it doesn't make any outbound connections because like for like link unfurls and those sorts of things, it will reach out to the internet. If that's something that you're sensitive to, you can put it into paranoid mode where it will make it so that it doesn't talk to the internet at all. Keep things nice and safe if that's something that you need. And also will prevent you from setting options that would turn that on. And then there's custom, which if you have pre-existing storage areas where you've already got stuff and you just want to hook it up to that kind of thing, that's the way to go. And it kind of lets you pick anything. In our case, we just want local, so that's what we'll start with. It tells you where we're going to put it, and now it's asking for an identity. In the case of local mode, you probably don't need it to be anything. If you're sharing between, say, like your work computer and your home computer, you might say like one's work, one's home. When the iOS app comes out, you might want to say like, hey, this is my iPhone versus my iPad versus my laptop or whatever. But if whatever you choose, you can change it later. So you don't have to premeditate all this stuff. It's one of the principles I try to done in NoteCove is that try not to premeditate anything because I don't want to have to think about it all. Like I just want to change it when I can change it and I'll deal with it later. And so everything tries to be pretty flexible with respect to that. So with settings in mind, we get to review just to double check and we'll create the profile and then we launch it. It has the ability to say like, always use this one so you don't have to go through the profile dialog or else the next time you start NoteCove, you'll have to click through. But you can click the box so you only have to, that never comes up. Get a little tooltip if you want for tips. You can turn it off if you like. New version of NoteCove, but I'm on the nightly, which is actually newer. So here we go. Anyway, so this is the general layout of the way things are. This is a folder tree that you can actually add folders with the plus button. There's projects, which I'll show you in a little bit. Smart folders are sort of like saved searches. And you can search on a bunch of different things within, both in tasks and notes. So you can kind of use that as kind of almost like saved search. And then there's tags or like hashtags. So you can use that to filter the list of notes or the list of things that show up in here. You can do both positive and negative matching. So you can say like this tag, but not this tag, and things like that, which is super useful. And then again, within the list, you could say, I want, everything. I just want notes. I want tasks, search box, that sort of thing. And then within the notes, there's the usual kind of editor controls that you kind of be used to. Like unlike Google Docs, like this is not oriented toward print, though, the print dialog actually does work. Anyway, we didn't actually come here to go through all that. We just want to actually get this thing talking to Claude Code. So all the communication with it from outside of NoteCove is done through the NoteCove CLI. And so we actually have to install that first. So we go to the tools menu, CLI, install the CLI. It says that local bin is not in the path. Turns out it actually is. I got some tweaks around this that will make this a little bit more clear, but just hit install. It says it's already installed, but it just installed it. So again, we need to work on this a little bit. So anyway, so one of the things we need to do then is there's NoteCove init, which is the thing that allows you to connect to the thing. But one of the things that we need for NoteCove init is NoteCove profiles. Much like when we created the profile before, it gets one of these longish IDs. It's Crockford base 32 if you care. Anyway, so you can either do it by the list. In this case, we've only got one running, but sometimes there's more than one NoteCove running. There could be, depending upon what you want to do. If you're not sure, you can just hit the About menu. It's right there. It's the same thing. Your choice. So anyway, so we do NoteCove init. We give it the profile, the thing we just had. And then we decide what kind of access we want to grant. For the purpose of this, we're just going to do all notes, all tasks, but you can choose it down to, like this folder, this project, this storage directory. You can kind of change it, whatever, your level of safety you feel that you need. For example, like, in the source trees where I'm developing NoteCove itself, I give it access to only 2 out of the about 4 or 5 projects I have going at any given time, and one main folder where it drops subfolders of stuff and things like that. Because, I leave I run it in dangerously mode and I let it run unattended for hours at a time. And so I don't want it potentially scribbling all over the rest of everything that's in NoteCove. And so I just keep it scoped to that. And when you do that, when you do actually ask for the init, it does actually pop this up just to make sure that nothing's reaching in here without you knowing about it. You can approve or deny. Obviously, we want to approve. So one of the things I also like to do when I first have hooked something up is to just do something like this, NoteCove, note list, just to make sure that we see what we expect, not that there's any surprises. There is a NoteCove debug, which will give you some information here, gives you some connection status should you need it, but we're all good. When it does the init, it drops a file called NoteCove in the current directory. It's got the shared secret. It's got some information that's advisory in terms of, so this way it can like pre-fail if it's trying to do if you're trying to do something wrong. And so like when the NoteCove CLI runs, what it does is it basically looks in the current directory and then walks its way up the directory tree until it finds one. There is a global setting that you can set for basically everything else, but set the access the way that you like. Anyway, so we do Claude. What do you call it? What's the dangerously flag? Oh, there we go. Oh, we don't want to continue. Just want Claude dangerously skip permissions. Perfect. All right, so let's actually see this thing in action. Using the NoteCove CLI, can you see the welcome note in NoteCove? If you can, create a new project named Demo and drop a ticket in there to revisit it with new things. And include a link to the welcome note so we can find it, and then open the ticket so that we can see it. No, that's using the note. There we go. And in the way that the way that the CLI works is it tries to use progressive disclosure on how it actually does things. So like, if you do --help, you'll see it says like, if you're an agent, use this, which you're seeing it doing there and calling it to get the agent instructions. And it talks about things like task links, how links to notes work. If you're going to run something, there's JSON flags on like everything, but like here's how to find the JSON format so you're not surprised. All things considered, it still will occasionally make errors, and that's fine. I'm going to be working on refining this so that Claude Code at least, makes fewer errors and that sort of stuff. So, okay, so it said that it made the project. So in fact it did. And it just made the ticket. So that's good. Ticket created as demo XF4. Now let me open it. It's learning how to open the ticket. Oh, there we go. Took it a little bit, but he got there. All right, cool. All done. Found the welcome note. This is the ID. You don't usually really have to care. But all tickets will have like a slug. Part of it's the name of the project, and then there's usually 3, but sometimes 4 here. There could be as many as 5 or 6. Really just kind of depends upon the ID uniqueness. But anyway, you see the usual kind of things that you would expect to find, in a ticket. Like there's the state, to do, doing, done, type. You can add more to these, and likewise, you can add more states. Basically, priority. There's a few other fields that you can throw in there. You can hide them if you don't use them and you don't care. That's all, that's all up to you. And you can change your mind. Just because you hide it doesn't mean you can expose it. If you add it, you can remove it. If you removed it, you can add it. And that sort of thing. So, there is a traditional Kanban style board, which you would expect. Anyway, so we've opened the ticket, and we've got this link here, so we can click the link and it actually will link us back to here. One thing that's actually pretty cool is we can actually make ticket links as well, which kind of alluded to during the thing. Demo XF4. There we go. And then we can click that and it will say like, hey, we can open up the task. Click on the note, come back to it, and it'll remember where we were in the scroll position. And this was already open, but it also live edits as well. So as I add stuff over here, it shows up. And if you're sharing this across a storage directory, you'll see basically the same thing. Just, there'll be some amount of delay for the sync in the file system. Sometimes when you're going back and forth, especially like if you got one of these, it's different. But in here, sometimes you want to figure out like backlinks can be really useful to figure out what the incoming links are, because obviously we know what would get out. So we can do that. And then likewise, we can go to the backlinks and try it for real this time. There we go. And we can go back and that sort of thing. In any case, like in communicating with Claude Code or Claude Desktop, I find this really useful because you can collaborate on a note in the stream of thought. You can say like drop a to do, or drop a ticket about this and just keep going. So this way you don't have to interrupt your flow. You're not losing things in the chat. And also with like the couple of nice things is like you can pair with Claude very easily on docs like this because, you know, well, that got squished really funny, but like you can drop Google Doc style comments on there. It will respond in the thread, or you can have, in some cases, Claude will drop one of these things on there and you can actually have, 3 or 4 different discussions in the doc at the same time. Super useful. I'll talk more about this in other videos, but just kind of give you a taste as to, how do you hook up NoteCove with AI? And the general instruction here works like with OpenCode. You can use you can either set it up as an MCP, like as I did in another video, or you could just have it invoke the CLI. The CLI is just way simpler anyway. But like any normal coding agent that can execute things can execute the CLI. And again, with the progressive disclosure through the various help mechanisms that are there, it should be able to interact with it. It's been super cool. Anyway, so just kind of, again, just give you a taste and hope you enjoy. Happy note coding.